All right, so this is a video explanation to talk you through how you interpret these quotes from the Federalist Papers and put them into your own language. So the quote here is from Federalist 51. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. So the first thing you want to do, we want to go sentence or thought by thought almost here, and make sure you know what your terms are. So if men were angels, now, we all have heard of angels, and in this instance, you can think of them as being perfect beings who always do the right thing, no matter what, okay? So if men were perfect and always did the right thing, no government would be necessary, okay? So in our explanation, we can say, if men were perfect and always did the right thing, no government would be needed, right? Because people would always do the right thing. So there'd be no reason to have anybody saying, you must do this or you can't do that, right? Okay. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. So again, if these perfect beings were our government. So if our government was made up of perfect beings, okay, let's put that part. If our government was controlled or made, let's say made up of perfect beings, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. Helps if I spell it right. So controls on government are those things, are the checks and balances, okay? So the things that say, if you're a government official, you're not supposed to do this, okay? Internal controls and external controls. So the internal controls would be things like laws that and rules that our people in government have to follow. So there would be no need for the rules and laws that our elected officials have to follow. So that would be the internal control, so within the government. External control is the ability to vote them out of office. So if our government was made up of perfect beings, there would be no need for the rules and laws that our elected officials have to follow to make sure they do not abuse their power. And there would be no need to have elections to vote them out of office, okay? So that's the external controls. In framing a government, which is to be administered by men over men, so now we're talking about the reality. We all know that, men aren't angels and that our government isn't made up of angels. It's made up of men, okay? And men are not perfect, okay? So in framing a government, which is to be administered by men over men. So in designing would be a better way, a government made up of men and governing men, the great difficulty lies in this. So the great difficulty is a problem. The problem is this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and the next place, oblige it to control itself. So you have to first give the government, okay? You have to first give the government power to control the people, then grant it power to control itself. Okay. In this, basically, what they're arguing for is checks and balances. So this is an argument for checks and balances. Okay, that there are rules for the government on what they are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do over the people. So things like our protected rights. And then there are also rules about the government itself. So the different branches of government checking the power of the other branches. So examples of checks and balances would be things like the legislature makes the laws. They write and make the laws. The president either signs the law, okay, and then executes it, or he vetoes it and says, no, this isn't a good law. If he vetoes it, it goes back to the legislature, and they have a choice of either starting over, throwing it out entirely, okay, or they can try and override the veto, and they need quite a number of votes to do that. So, legislature makes the laws. The president administers the laws. He's not supposed to make laws, he administers laws, okay? And then the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, interprets the laws and says, okay, this is okay, or, well, nope, this violates the Bill of Rights. This violates the rights guaranteed in the Constitution. You can't do that, okay? So these are the checks and balances to make sure that one branch of government doesn't become too powerful, okay? All right, so you're going to do the same thing for all of the rest of these videos. Now, each of these has a little explanation video that will go over major terms and help get you on the way. But your job will be to type out what are they really saying and what do you think it's an argument for?